And we are going to come on the air and stay on the air with you for a while. We now have the tornado watch issued by the Storm Prediction Center. I love this shot. This was taken from a passenger on a commercial jet departing Birmingham Shuttlesworth International Airport. And this was taken, I'd say, about 1:30 this afternoon. At that point, we had these big buildups, and some of these did blossom into storms. And these storms earlier in the day did produce some hail. In fact, here are some of the images coming in. You can see that school. That is Harvest Elementary School. You can see the sign right here. This is in Madison County near Huntsville. And what you see out here, that is hail. Hail covered the ground, and you've got that fog that's produced when you've got a large hail field down like this on a day like today.
ABC 3340 News starts now with a severe weather alert.
And be prepared and be weather aware. A long night is ahead of us. Temperatures are in the 70s this afternoon as storms enter the state. That does not bode well for this evening. Good afternoon to you. I'm Christopher Sine.
And I'm Pam Huff. Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann, of course, is here. James, the risk for severe weather across central Alabama actually increased earlier this afternoon.
Yes, the Storm Prediction Center upgraded the risk for the northern part of the state to moderate. That's level 4 out of level 5. The areas you see here in red. An enhanced risk goes down through parts of central Alabama.
School districts either canceled classes completely or dismissed early. And that means that buses are off the roads. Many colleges also have canceled classes and events that were set for tonight as well.
Now, some school districts decided as early as Sunday afternoon it would be too great of a risk to keep students for a full day. Many, like these students at Minor Community School, dismissed at noon.
I'm so glad that they go ahead and let it out so early. They do a great job on that because, you know, us parents can get home and prepare. We don't have to prepare and then rush to go get our kids from school.
City officials tell me that as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, they're moving to level 2 of their emergency protocol plan. They're telling me that right now begins their biggest concern in sort of this window where they think that we need to be most prepared.
This is going to be in Delta. It's in Clay County. It was about an hour ago. We asked James to pinpoint this, and he said that, yeah, that storm went right through there pretty quickly.
The door's open right here. This is to one of the many shelters here in this portion of Coleman County that are now open. This one in particular here, right near Sportsman's Lake Park, able to hold about 400 people. They've got this door open, and this is literally where people would rush in the event that there was severe weather, particularly a tornado. Right now, just a precaution, again, not trying to make anyone nervous, but there's certainly something that they're prepared for. This all happened once that tornado watch was issued for this area. You see Coleman Police here right now, and we actually have, Chris, if we can pan over, one group right here. They're waiting just in case. They came all the way out here. They've got their car ready, and they will be right across the street in case that weather moved through here.
It's that right there, and you see all that lightning. You know, that's a sign that you've got that friction of all that ice in the storm creating that. So that's what's going on there. But yeah, golf ball sized hail.
You know, the drone technology is just tremendous, and that's going to help us out greatly. This is from Dave Warren, our friend. Dave sends us a lot of great drone video, and you can see Smith Lake down below. This storm, as it came through Smith Lake and over into Coleman County, did produce some hail. Again, the hail was probably about maybe a 1/4 inch in diameter. This is an image of a wall cloud with that storm, Charles.
Wow. Look at that.
A wall cloud and a tail cloud. Very, very impressive structure on this thing. And again, this thunderstorm is crossing over into Franklin County, and this was taken from Red Bay about 4 minutes ago.
The Weather Authority, of course, has crews scattered out across central Alabama ahead of this evening's severe storms.
And we want to begin with ABC 3340's Elizabeth Lane in Tuscaloosa County right now. Elizabeth.
And here in Coleman County, all community shelters have been open. The doors literally open here at Sportsman's Lake Park to this. This is actually one of the largest shelters here in Coleman County. It can fit about 400 people inside. And as we mentioned, that door is open, and some people here have been very familiar not just with what has happened here, but in years past. That is why police are out here right now. They're guarding this spot and ready in case people need to come, and some aren't taking any chances. If you were with us at 4 o'clock, that's Amy Buse and her family. We just talked to them just a few minutes ago. Her family not taking any chances. I asked her why. She was there in Coleman in 2011 when those storms moved through. She said she didn't take the storm as seriously as she probably should have then, watched a neighbor's home get destroyed. she's now here waiting just in case those storms come, so her husband, and her 3 kids can be inside safe and sound.
People living in Edgewater and McDonald Chapel still have no community storm shelters.
One woman, the woman you just saw there in the McDonald Chapel community, just took matters into her own hands, and she built her own shelter to keep her family and some of her neighbors safe. Now, this shelter that this woman built can fit up to 15 people. She says knowing others do not have this opportunity when storms hit just really bothers her.
Pastor in Edgewater. Now he's pushing for his community. We don't have no one out here to help us.
John is live, and he's looking back into that storm. John is on the south side, which is the safe place to be, looking back into the storm in Lawrence County. And again, we're still seeing strong evidence of circulation in through there. So at the moment, the focus is on that northwestern part of Alabama, specifically eastern Franklin and Lawrence counties. Let's go, Stephen, to this shot. And again, this is going to be from the LSM guys. And again, that looks like a maybe some relatively minor damage. Okay, some trees are down, and again, we're understanding that there are trees down across the road, and this is some of the damage in Russellville. So we've got some of the guys that are looking now for damage, and this is in Franklin County, Alabama. This happened, in fact, it looks like that's a tree possibly through a mobile home. And again, a big tree limb came through that mobile home, and this is why you got to take these things seriously. And we have a condition this evening where the entire northern half of the state will have the chance of severe storms and tornadoes. Now, where you are, it might be sunny, but keep in mind, sun is not your friend on a day with a volatile air mass. That makes the air very unstable.
You want to make sure that you have your cell phone with you. Make sure it's handy. Make sure it is fully charged. You may need that cell phone for communication, and you'll need it also because you should download the ABC 3340 app to get the weather updates. That's so that you can keep up with all of the watches and the warnings that are going to impact you. Another good way to stay informed is with the weather radio, often made by Midland. I have one myself. I bought an extra one today, as a matter of fact. And know a safe place in your home. And when you are in that safe place, be ready to take shelter in a moment's notice. Something else handy, I brought one here, right here. Grab a helmet. Yeah, this is no joke. You want a helmet in that safe place. And when you have that tornado warning, and when you hear James and other meteorologists tell you to get in that shelter, make sure you put a helmet on, because a helmet could save you through flying debris. There have been many studies, including one at UAB, that shows many people who are injured in severe weather and in these storms oftentimes are injured by flying debris.
And there is a good chance that we have a rain-wrapped tornado in that storm approaching Moulton. We have a very high velocity couplet on radar. If you know anybody in Moulton, we would advise you to call them. They should know about this. And if you're in Fairview or Baileyton, you've got less than 5 minutes to go to a safe place. So you need to be in a safe place right now. Again, all of this is happening northeast of the city of Cullman. We see no evidence of any activity directly in the city of Cullman. Hey, let's go to our Cullman Skycam. EMA is reporting a tornado touchdown at Vinemont. Respect the polygon and go to a safe place. Small room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows. No mobile homes and no cars. And let me just say, this tornadic circulation here more than likely is going to be crossing Interstate 65 near Good Hope right here. That's your new circulation. So this is a new circulation entering Cullman County out of Winston County. And this will be moving a little south of east. The city of Cullman is right here. And more than likely, this is going to be coming down in this direction right down through here. So what I want to do here, I'm going to change the radar site down here to Birmingham. And again, in a situation like this, we kind of, oh yeah.
There we go.
That's it. All right, so this is a new tornado warning for Cullman County. And this is a storm that looks like it's near the eastern shore of Smith Lake near Crane Hill. Okay, it's this thing right here. That's your new circulation. So this is a new circulation entering Cullman County out of Winston County. And this will be moving a little south of east. The city of Cullman is right here. And more than likely, this is going to be coming down in this direction right down through here. You've got Good Hope, which is here. This is Dodge City right down in through here. So again, Cullman, the city of Cullman, is in this tornado warning polygon. Technically, you're in 2 right now. But for the circulation up here that's approaching Fairview and Baileyton, that's going to stay northeast of you, and most likely this one stays south of downtown Cullman, but it doesn't matter. If you're in a polygon, what do? Respect the polygon and go to a safe place. Small room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows. No mobile homes and no cars. So again, Good Hope is here, Coleman is here, Alabama Highway 69 runs right up through here, Heritage Park sits right there, the Walmart sits right there. If you are in the city of Coleman, the city of Good Hope, you've got to be sheltered, and nobody should be driving along Interstate 65 right now in Coleman County, just period. You've got to wait until this circulation passes. The lower box, this is the Winston County storm near Lynn in Winston County. So again, we're watching multiple storms in multiple counties, and again, that's an interesting live shot there in the upper left. This is where people shelter, okay? And let me just say this. You know, some people say, well, I wouldn't get in that thing. You would if you have to. And if you are in a manufactured home or you don't feel comfortable or you want to be in a perfectly safe place, you go there. And people have chosen to do that. And you know what? It's better to be safe than sorry, and I think that's a great call. It's great that we have these community storm shelters. It's a marvelous thing, and we're certainly glad that they're there. There's some parts of the state where people don't have a place to go. This is hail coming from Coleman. Goodness, we tried to, you know, Charles, we did our best to communicate hail is going to be a big problem here. Right. You know, it looked like the profiles would certainly support that, and that is some very large hail.
And we saw one of the chasers, his windows all busted out.
Yeah, check this out. This is Good Hope.
Wow.
In Coleman County. And again, this is what it's been looking like, and that's enough to break windows, that's enough to damage your roof, it's enough to damage your car. And if you have not had a storm today, you might have that tonight. So just understand that. This is kind of a warning for you that these storms are propagating on down to the south, and understand it's going to keep on going. So let's go back to the main graphic system behind me, and let me just show that we have these multiple storms. Look at this thing. The structure of these things is really starting to look impressive. I mean,
I'm surprised that one's that's got a nice little rotation
that deal
to
right
it.
there. I mean, that looks like a supercell storm that is in Winston County, and I'm just saying these things are lining up like trains on a track. So we could conceivably have a number of more tornado warnings here. I don't like the way this looks.
Take a look at the size of this hail here. It's huge, and it's been a downpour, and now the hail is starting again. And I got hit on the head by some of the hail here, and let me tell you, it hurts.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's a bad day.
This is, let me tell you what, this is going to produce extensive damage in these areas where this stuff has been coming through here. This is just horrifying. This is going to be a situation where we're going to have roofs that have to be replaced.
Charles, I can tell you, we were in the shelter and we saw some pea-sized hail when we were in there. A lot of heavy wind, but boy, that was just obviously not the worst part of that. We were over near Statesman's Park. As you can hear the thunder, as we just saw a big bolt of lightning near us. I mentioned hail, rather. Pea-sized hail. We'll take a look at this, because this is what was falling here. Literally almost baseball-sized hail. And to give you a sense of just how much, look at this. This is what came off the roof of this church right here. We're at Grace Chapel here in Coleman, and if you look over here, Chris, if we pan over, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but if you can see those windshields over there, most of the back windshields, the ones that are more horizontal, completely broken, shattered. These people right here, though, they were able to get in here in their cars over this overhang here at Grace Chapel, and were able to avoid having their cars damaged. I'm joined by these two right here, and I didn't even introduce myself earlier. I'm Steven, but it's nice seeing y'all. Tell us real quick what it was like when you were out here as that hail, the ones we just showed, started to fall.
Well, it started hailing real small, and then it kept getting bigger. And we pulled under here, and the truck started rocking, and it was just a bad storm. But
You said that the truck was rocking even while you were in here in the overhang. Yeah. Was there anyone else over here? And if so, what was it like? What was it the sounds like when that started falling?
Well, the hail was making so much racket you couldn't hear anything else. So.
And do you guys live here in the area?
Yeah, about a mile from here.
Have you heard from your neighbors about how your house is?
Not yet.
Oh, certainly.
Other than our neighbor across the street said their windows were all busted out of their vehicles.
How long did it last, would you say? The whole hail that we saw, that's damaging hail?
Probably 15 minutes.
So what do you guys do now?
We're going to go home.
Well, amen for that. Well, we appreciate it. We're glad you all are safe. Their car, as you guys can see, not damaged, but it certainly is a different case. In fact, Chris, if we can walk through here, again, what amazes, it's amazing to see just how much hail fell off. Look at it right there. That's what the roof looked like, but many cars not damaged. This right here is just one of those. This is what it looks like across all this portion of Coleman. So a lot of damage out here. We're going to keep surveying the area and bring you more as we see it for right now. But obviously a situation where hail seems to be the main factor we're hearing here. We do have some reports also of mainly hail and wind damage. We did talk to Coleman County EMA, and that was what they were able to pass along to us. And we'll pass along more to you as soon as we get another chance to get out here, getting our first sights really of what happened here in Coleman.
We have 2 tornado warnings, one for Cherokee County. We have a tornadic storm that's coming right on top of Weiss Lake. That's crossed over through Leesburg and Center. It's coming out, the circulation's coming out over on the eastern side of Weiss Lake. And that storm will ultimately cross over into Georgia. But again, that is tornadic storm number 1. Down to the south, we have tornadic storm number 2, and this is coming through northern Calhoun County. And again, that circulation is crossed over US 431. And then next it's going to be crossing over Highway 21, pretty close to Jacksonville. You know, Jacksonville's had a rough ride. And this circulation will be near or just north of Jacksonville here very soon. And everybody in Jacksonville and Angel, and you need to stay in your safe place. Here's a report. Somebody says that the hail has been so intense it caused airbags to deploy.
James, check out the correlation coefficient there at Jacksonville. I mean, it's pegged off the charts. There's a pretty good signature there that we've got at least some debris or something lofted.
Oh, brother, this is horrifying. All right, look, this is a TDS. That's a tornado debris signature. This is correlation coefficient. When you get a negative CC, that means the radar is telling us that there's something different about the echoes there. It's not precipitation. This is stuff like tree limbs, parts of buildings being lofted. This is not a good sign. And Charles, thanks for pegging that. This is a TDS, a tornado debris signature, and I would say that we've got a tornado down at Jacksonville. It is urgent that you are sheltered if you live in Jacksonville, if you're on the campus of Jacksonville State University. You should have been sheltered 30 minutes ago. This was a 30-minute lead time. Okay, we're getting reports now from the sheriff in Calhoun County. We have homes damaged in Wellington from this thing. What this is showing us, this is debris to at least 15,000 feet. 15,000 feet, debris from the surface being lofted up, which means this is a very significant tornado. And we don't play the game where you say this is an EF something. You don't know what the EF rating is until you survey the damage. But again, this is in a good position environment-wise to stay down into Cleburne County. So we have debris being lofted. And again, based on the radar data, the debris is coming up to about 15,000 feet. This is what the damage looks like at an apartment complex in Jacksonville. So if you guys can punch up 05, WEX 05, yeah, this is what it looks like. And this was the Reserve Apartments.
I believe so.
In Jacksonville. This is, again, you can see a ceiling fan there, and obviously there's very heavy damage. We do know for a fact, we can confirm the fact that Jacksonville State University is on spring break. Let me give a report. Again, this is from social media. I believe this to be valid. My sister, who lives at the Reserve Apartments in Jacksonville, is fine. Her bathroom was caving in, so she's trying to leave the apartments, but she can't leave because of downed trees. And we know there's been extensive damage there. And again, I have seen multiple reports that people have been injured. And beyond that, I just don't want to go there. There's some other things we've seen. I will wait until we get this stuff confirmed out here tonight. This is coming in from Pell City. And again, that's looking back into the storms along Interstate 20. So far, the interstate has been okay. The damage and the hail has been north of Interstate 20. But again, tonight, you can see that we've got the sky is illuminated because of lightning. In Coleman County, it's been brutal. This is hail damage. And again, you can see the airbag deployed. And we've got images like this coming from so many different counties. But in terms of the tornado damage, in Alabama, in our part of the state, the most significant damage has come in from Etowah and Calhoun and perhaps northern Cleburne.
Brian Pia has been assessing some of the damage there. Brian, I know you had some major hail damage there.
Absolutely right, Brenda and Chris. I am outside the Tony Serra Nissan dealership here in South Coleman. Take a look at the damage to these cars.
Let's continue our live team coverage right now with Jennifer Gonson. I believe that she's in Etowah County. Jennifer, can you hear me? And what is the situation where you are?
I can absolutely hear you guys. We've been here in Etowah County. We're in Southside right now. We've been here about 20 minutes, and in that amount of time, we've seen at least 5 different emergency cars, different ambulances head in the opposite direction. I want to show you this intersection right here. You see where they're directing traffic, and there's a line of cars back there backed up, and they're actually backed up on both sides. The situation there is that, and this is what we've been told since we've made it out here on the scene, is that there is a neighborhood about a mile down the street down there that has been really hit hard by winds, by the storm.
I want to get to Patrick Thomas. He has been trying for more than an hour and a half, almost 2 hours now, to get to Jacksonville, where there are reports coming in of significant damage there. Patrick, where are you? What's the situation?
Chris, we're on Highway 431, and all you have to know is look right behind me. There's a tree down, there's some power lines, live power lines, and it has caused a major traffic issue. We were actually on our way to Jacksonville State University to check out some of those reports of storm damage that y'all have been talking about all night when we were stopped. This has been the situation for at least 30 minutes now. You can see Tyler's panning right over. You can see some of those power lines, that tree I referenced, and beyond that, you see some other cars that are stopped on the other side of the road. Now, I'm going to step back into frame, but I want y'all to just kind of stick with me right here because I want to show y'all and give y'all a sense of how bad traffic is behind us. If Tyler can come with me right now, this is sort of what the traffic jam looks like right here. Okay, now this is at least for a half a mile down the road, if not a mile down the road.
Well, throughout Coleman County, Brenda, wind and then hail have been the story. The wind that actually kicked up the debris here on the side of the jail here, and then this has been the main culprit, has been hail, still hours after it fell here, and the damage is really not here on the side. It came from above to the roof here of the Coleman County Jail. But if you take a look inside, you'll see exactly the extent of that damage as it literally went through the insulation of the roof here, causing some damage. We did get a chance to speak to Sheriff Matt Gentry a little bit ago. He tells us that none of the inmates inside of this jail were harmed. There were some vehicles outside in the parking lot that they used that were damaged. But keep in mind, this is a sheriff's office that is very busy today, not only having to taking care of the inmates here, but also for all of the people throughout this area that have been affected by those storms here. We did see a number of cars as well at Grace Chapel and some of those areas that had been affected by this. But so far here in Coleman County, at least, and I stress just here in Coleman County, it appears to have been mainly property damage, things that certainly can be rebuilt. Everyone happy that they are okay for now, as it appears that this area received mainly just that property damage. And as I mentioned, a lot of cars were impacted by this as well. And Lauren Walsh is also here, my colleague in Coleman County, and has more on that. I'm going to send it to her now.
And Stephen, that property damage you're talking about is certainly evident here at Mitch Smith's Chevrolet, where the dealership is estimating 390 cars damaged by hail here on the lot. If you can see right here, this is what the hail did to some of the windshields. And take a look at this car over here next to me. You can see significant damage not only on the windshield, but also you can see just the amount of dents on the hood of this car.
This is a look at the Dollar General store in Jacksonville. And again, you can see that there is very extensive damage. And again, this is clearly going to be tornado damage. We have to wait until the first light of day really to determine the size of this tornado. Now, this is from the Reserve Apartments in Jacksonville. And you can see the damage to the vehicles. You can see the damage to the structure. In there, what other damage did you see coming into town away from campus?
I saw lots of trees and power lines down, trees on homes. One car looked like it had gone out and hit a telephone pole. I can't tell if that's from driving or a tornado. Structural damage on different homes, and probably the worst I've seen so far. But, I've only been here a few minutes. It's hard to get around. There's no power. So I'm seeing just a very small snippet of what the actual damage is right now. I can't tell you what's on the other side of town. I haven't been there yet, but I can tell you there was significant damage and structural damage to some buildings. I just can't tell you exactly how much just yet. We might not know till daylight. It's pretty widespread through the town.
And this is just in, and this is what that thing looked like coming through Jacksonville, approaching Jacksonville earlier this evening. And again, this is from Rita Lewis. Greg Davis sent this to me, and this is from his mom, Rita Lewis. And again, that is a look at the Jacksonville tornado approaching earlier this evening. And again, you can see that it's a pretty large tornado.
Right, James, we also understand that the West Point Church has been pretty much destroyed on Highway 204 just outside of Jacksonville. Sheriff Matthew Wade sent this picture in. You can see it looks like the church has been devastated, just cut in half. It looks completely destroyed, but of course they're saying the pastor said that the building is damaged, but the church, the members, are intact.
Images, and again, this is coming from Jacksonville. You saw that from Brett Adair's stream. That is the apartment complex, the Reserve Apartments in Jacksonville. That's very heavily damaged, obviously. And again, this is Pete Matthews Coliseum. The first report indicated that the building was gone, but that's not true, that the building is there. I think there's pretty major damage to the roof. And but the building itself is okay.
And this is very concerning because in Coleman we hear that the police and the sheriff's department has extensive damage to their vehicles there. Of course, we depend on the police and the sheriff in a situation like this. So, Christopher, you can see that is a very concerning situation.
The Coleman Area Rural Transportation Service is saying extensive damage to almost all of the buses there. That's problematic. And then the police department with extensive damage to the patrol cars. I know we're talking on the fly here, but maybe if we could re-rack that video, because he actually had some video of a patrol car that's sustained damage right outside of the jail there in Coleman County where he was reporting from earlier.
Yeah, that's right. And the jail had extensive damage,
right.
And serious damage as well. And in a situation like that, there you see it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's inside the jail there. That was the damage from inside the jail. And if it's the same piece of video I'm thinking about, there it is right there. That's just some of the damage there from the patrol cars outside. It doesn't appear as though this particular car took a lot of the damage, but look, you can see that that windshield appears to be cracked right there. And then you see the dents on the other patrol cars. Oh, geez. Okay, these are some of the images I haven't seen this extended part here, but that's exactly what they're talking about. So much damage to even our first responders.
New from overnight, we are expected to learn more about the extensive damage in the city of Jacksonville.
We're told city leaders as well as leaders from Jacksonville State University will hold a news conference at 9 this morning to discuss the recovery process.
Take a look at this video just coming in this morning. We saw Pete Matthews Coliseum a minute ago. This is another business in that area. Many buildings we know on JSU's campus are damaged. That's where we find ABC 30-40 Stoney Sharp this morning live there in Calhoun County. Stoney, how extensive is the damage there?
Good morning, Sarah and Wendell. The scene very haunting here in Jacksonville this morning. Everywhere you go near the university, you see rescue crews. Rescue crews are conducting search and rescue operations right now. This is Gamecock Village, just about 1 mile from JSU. In front of me, a red Dodge truck that has been flipped over in the parking lot. The apartments themselves missing walls, windows, and roofs. Here's video from campus we took about 2 hours ago. JSU reports major damage to the roof at Pete Matthews Coliseum. Many buildings on campus receiving similar damage or even worse. Driving on the outskirts of campus, many structures damaged by wind, trees, and debris. A Chevron gas station near the baseball field completely exposed to the sky, no roof, and missing walls. We spoke to a student who lives in these apartments and the county sheriff.
It was pretty shredded. Like, even the ones that didn't get hit, all the glass is broken. It's laying in the floors everywhere. Some of the roof's been torn off. The back buildings, I think, are worse than the front.
Thank God it's this spring break, or it'd be a whole lot, many more people on campus. So while if something bad happened, we got to look at the positive. In Jacksonville and Calhoun County is a great place to live. It's great people, and I know that we'll build back from this.
This morning, the county EMA is reporting injuries. However, they are not saying how many people have been hurt in the storm. They also will not confirm nor deny if there are any deaths. Live in Calhoun County, Stony Sharp, ABC 3340 News.
Stony, let's continue talking about that damage just outside of Jacksonville. West Point Church, you see it right here on Highway 204, now destroyed. This is all that is left of that church sanctuary. We talked to the pastor who says even though mostly everything is gone, the congregation is still together.
And this is some video this morning out of Etowah County. Cleanup underway there as well. You're taking a look at some images of storm damage in the south side area. Several trees and power lines knocked down. Crews have been working all night long to try to clear this debris. We are told a lot of that damage was on Rita Road. That road had to close for just a little while, but crews have since reopened it. It reopened just before midnight. Up north in Coleman County, many people dealing with storm damage from large hail. In fact, one car dealership reporting hundreds of cars damaged by the storm. Take a look at this damage. You can see the hail damage on the roofs, hail damage to the windows there. That's where we sent ABC 3340's Ariel Clay this morning. Ariel, what kind of damage are you seeing at that dealership?
What you mentioned, Sarah, damage to the roofs and the back windshields and the front windshields of the cars. We've seen a steady flow of people coming here to the dealership just to get a first-hand look at all of this. You could see the glass just broken out, and it really just shows the force of that hail that fell here yesterday. We also want to show you a lot of, on the ground, we've seen a lot of this, these, I guess the side mirrors, pieces of the side mirrors that have come off or that came off during that storm that came through Coleman. We also want to show you some video from social media, people sharing their experience during the storm and what they saw. It was just so forceful, that hail that fell. It's no surprise that nearly 400 cars here at this car dealership alone damaged. We know that other car dealerships also affected, and people also reporting damage to their personal cars as well. I've reached out to the Coleman County EMA just to get a little bit more information about the work that they're going to be doing today. We haven't heard back from them just yet, but they are reporting that the schools, both the county and city, are closed today, as well as the city government. A lot of work ahead for folks as they wake up this morning and start to assess all of this damage and start reaching out to their insurance companies. In Coleman County, I'm Ariel Clay, ABC 3340 News.
Strong winds and large hail also causing problems for the Coleman County Jail. Portions of the roof were hit hard. Sheriff Matt Gentry tells us lots of insulation, as you can see right here, fell through, but the roof did not collapse. Officials say no one was harmed. Sheriff Gentry says he suspects there are hundreds of thousands of dollars done in damage to patrol cars as well. Take a look for yourself. The Alabama EMA confirms not only Coleman City Police, but the Coleman County Sheriff's Office had extensive damage to patrol cars there as well. You can see a window knocked out in that one. We're told the Coleman Rural Transportation Services, the buses, also had damage to all of their fleet.
And Wendell, we're also getting some new images out of Russellville this morning.
Heavy rain, strong winds also caused problems there. Take a look at just how bad it was. You're looking at video from when the storm was at its height, at its strongest. Officials say roofs were blown off. Transformers, too, you can see them popping there in the video.
Right now in Limestone County, crews there working to clear the roads after these storms. You're taking a look at video out of the Ardmore area. Power lines there down, as well as trees blocking many of the streets. In fact, this morning, Highway 251 between Gatlin and Pinedale Road is shut down. Local responders say many homes, outbuildings, and cars have been totaled between Elkmont and West Limestone. So far, no reports of any injuries in those areas. Governor Kay Ivey is sending state resources right now to help those cities affected by these storms. In fact, she sent out a statement just last night saying in part, quote, "Our first priority is ensuring our people are safe. Please stay out of affected areas and let first responders do their job. I thank all first responders, EMA, weather officials, and utility workers for their hard work trying to keep Alabamians safe." And because of the damage, some schools are closed today. Calhoun County, Coleman City, Coleman County, and Jacksonville Christian Academy all closed today. Jacksonville City schools are on spring break this week. And schools in Etowah County will be in session today, but some bus routes in Southside and Rainbow City will not run because of that storm damage.
We are expecting another update on power outages in less than 30 minutes. Alabama Power says the hardest hit areas are in East Alabama, and at last check, nearly 10,000 customers from Cleburne to Calhoun to Etowah to St. Clair County are in the dark without electricity. The majority of those people in Calhoun County. Stick with ABC 3340 News throughout this severe weather coverage this morning. We are the Weather Authority. When we're not on air, check for updates online or on the free app.
Now, ABC 3340 News at 4.
The destruction, the damage, and the quick decisions that may have saved lives.
We're in the basement, we were hiding. And
Tornado terror.
Apparently there was a second one, maybe a third one.
Taking shelter as roofs peel away like wallpaper.
The doors kept opening and closing.
I mean, anywhere you look, there's metal and just insulation, all kinds of stuff.
From the hail damage to the flooding to the tornado aftermath, Alabamians endure a scary night and thankful at first light.
We're going to take this one day at a time. It happens, I hate it, but I'm just glad nobody got hurt.
And we can tell you right now that an EF3 tornado left a path of destruction in Calhoun County. You are looking live right now at the ABC 3340 Sky View at the mess in Jacksonville as residents now must clean up. Good afternoon to you. I'm Christopher Sine. The Weather Authority has crews spread out across portions of Alabama getting a first-hand look at the damage. My colleague Pam Huff is anchoring our coverage from Jacksonville along with Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann. That's where we will also find ABC 3340's Lauren Walsh. Cynthia Gould is in Riddles Bend in Etowah County, and Elizabeth Lane is checking in on storm recovery in Coleman County. First, though, we turn to ABC 3340's Pam Huff and Chief Meteorologist James Spann. Pam and James.
Chris, James, first of all, is not here. He is en route. It is very difficult to get to where we are right now. As you might imagine, people are being stopped and traffic is along the way. James will be with us momentarily. You mentioned now that this has been ruled to be an EF3 tornado. Winds 135 miles per hour. Take a look behind me right here. We are behind, actually, Merrill Hall, which was the Commerce Department here at JSU, and practically gone. I talked with a professor this afternoon. He said there's no roof on my office right now. It's open to the sky. The only thing he was able to go inside and get out was a picture of his granddaughter. He said all of his research is gone. And of course, that's what so many students are going to come back here to find. But the blessing in all of this is that this campus, which right now is shut down, this campus is on spring break. And so all of the students, practically all of the students, were off campus. And that was so important when you saw the devastation, the damage that was done to a number of apartment complexes that are on or near this campus that are all but destroyed. Entire roofs and entire floors just taken off. Now, as we understand it this afternoon, we have passed so many Alabama Power trucks coming in, other trucks coming in to help. We understand that 300 utility poles must be replaced in this area. In fact, we followed many of them in today to Jacksonville. They're going to be working round the clock. Of course, they've got crews in here from other facilities, other places as well, but it's just going to be a while. The National Weather Service did fan out today, not only in Etowah County and here in Calhoun County, but also to other places in northern Alabama where there was severe weather last night as well. James Spann is just now pulling up in Storm Chaser, so by the way, he will be joining us momentarily. When you look at what could have happened, what did happen here, this campus and all of the people in Calhoun County are so fortunate. We understand one seriously injured person, but no fatalities. And when you think about what happened last night and the fact that people listened, that is what is making the difference. And that is why today we can stand here and report and say incredible damage, so much work to be done, but the bottom line is no loss of life. And if James Spann will walk on over here as quickly as he can, James. He has obviously been to a school today. He's been to a number of places. But I want to get James's first reaction here to what we are seeing with the trees behind me now, the way in which they're blown, with the fact that we have just been notified that this is an EF3 with 135-mile-per-hour winds. Hi, James. You and I have seen the EF5s before. EF3, you have no problem with accepting that, with the damage seen.
Right. In the way these surveys work, Pam, the Weather Service works down the entire path of the tornado. And they're going to have an initial estimate based on the first thing they see. And the first thing they saw this morning was damage consistent with an EF2. Based on what happened about 30 minutes ago and some of the damage they saw near campus, they went to an EF3. And I think that's the right thing to do. Looking at the drone video from the drone we put up here this morning,
yes,
I think most of the damage that you see through some of the campus here is consistent with an EF3. So that is a very significant tornado, and this is going to be a long track tornado, Pam. There's a good chance this went all the way through Cleburne County, all the way into Georgia. And so this will be a coordinated effort between the Weather Service in Birmingham and Atlanta in terms of how long the path is. We'll know that later. But again, clearly this is EF3 damage through here. Right.
James, I'm going to let you get a hold of yourself here in a minute. We're going to do a whole lot more with you later this hour. Thank you. James Spann, our chief meteorologist, here with us. Earlier today, Governor Kay Ivey, in fact, at 8 o'clock this morning, declared all of this to be a state of emergency for a number of counties in Alabama, obviously Calhoun County, the main one here. And obviously that frees up a lot of resources that these folks can use as they begin the recovery and the rebuilding effort. And this afternoon, Governor Ivey made several stops, 4 stops in fact, 3 here in Calhoun County and 1 in Etowah County, just to let people know that she is here and that we have all of the resources of the state of Alabama ready to help in any way that they can. I am joined here now by another of my colleagues, Lauren Walsh, who has been in Calhoun County today and specifically on the campus of JSU, finding those few students who were here. Lauren, incredible story of survival, I know from one young man you talked with.
Pam, and what I'm hearing over and over from the students who were here is how thankful they are that there was no loss of life here in the storm, which is pretty incredible. When you look, this is one of the men's dorms. This is Patterson Hall here on the JSU campus. You can see the roof blown off of the building. You can just see the roof shingles on the floor here now at Patterson Hall. And this is not the only student housing facility that was damaged here on campus, and also some off-campus facilities too. We have aerial views right now of campus through the ABC 3340 Skyview. And so not only were the buildings on campus damaged, but the off-campus apartments too that offered the student living spaces. And I spent time today with a junior, Brighton Moore, who was in one of those off-campus apartments, Gamecock Village. Now he tells me he had just taken a pizza out of the oven. That's when he heard the tornado sirens. Here's his story.
All of a sudden the lights just went out and the siren, we heard the siren going off. It started raining really hard. So we went, me and my friend were there. We got in the closet and we were in there for a minute, and then all of a sudden the closet door just busts open and I see the window was like gone. So like all this rain was coming in, there's glass everywhere.
And Moore told me he was on the 2nd floor. His apartment building was 3 stories, and he said that while he was in that closet, the roof flew off the top of his apartment building. He said that's when he sought shelter then on the 1st floor with some other friends. He described it being in a closet with about 9 other people, also some pets. And he says that his car, which was in the parking lot there, actually flew and landed on a sidewalk and is crushed. So in this storm, he lost his home, he lost his car, and his story, losing his home, is what I'm hearing from many of the students who are here in Jacksonville today now wondering where they're going to live during the rest of this semester.
And obviously that young man is alive today. He has followed the advice that, time and time again we have heard James Spann say, Lauren, and that is to get to the lowest level, to a small room and stay there, and it helped to save his life and the lives of many of his friends last night. Let me ask you though, you're talking to these students, they're seeing a campus that was so lovely, so beautiful, and it's a mess right now, folks. I got to tell you, this campus is just in a bad way right now. We have an alum from JSU who works with us. She is just in shock at the damage that is done here. Lauren, as you're talking to the students who are here now, what are they saying about rebuilding, about coming back, about staying here at this school?
Well, Pam, you mentioned shock, and that's one of the words I'm hearing over and over from students. They're not sure exactly what they're feeling yet, but as they're looking to see where they can live, a lot of them staying with some of their friends who live in some homes that were not destroyed. But they're telling me that there's really a spirit of community right now. Even those who are away from spring break, they're all talking through social media. They're all making sure each other is okay, helping each other in any way they can. I saw some of the Greek life is welcoming other students into their homes today with some meals and just trying to be a support system to their fellow students here on campus. So you see a lot of community coming together, and they have one message. They say they will rebuild.
Lauren Walsh reporting from the JSU campus. Lauren, we're going to be checking back with you later this hour. We appreciate your report. Lauren talked about community here on the JSU campus. You know, as we drove in, my photographer Bill Castle and I drove in this afternoon, you drive through much of Jacksonville and you would never know that a storm was here last night, and then suddenly you're up on it. And in the communities where it did hit, where that long track tornado that James talked about hit, you can see that there is such a massive rebuilding effort that has to go underway. Another of my colleagues, Stephen Quinn, has been talking about this community spirit, about the community helping each other right now. And Stephen joins us from a church here that everybody knew. It was a landmark, the West Point Baptist Church, and its sanctuary and much else of that church is gone right now. Stephen, though, community is still very much alive here.
That is correct. One involving that church, Pam, that had been around here for literally 100 years. Most of the church is no longer standing, just pieces of it, literally as those brick walls were thrown hundreds of yards. This is where what is left of the church strewn here across this field, and the effort to build and to rebuild here, it's going to take a while. We talked to the pastor, and I'm going to have more on that in a moment. But where we are right now is on Alabama Highway 204, and all this way leading back into Jacksonville. There are homes that have been destroyed by the damage that was caused by this storms, and throughout the course of the day, we went up and down that road, seeing people come out with chainsaws as crews work to restore power. They work to clean up, and one of those was a homeowner from Jacksonville, Marla Ford. Her house was in fact actually being taken care of. It was being rented by a pair of students from Jacksonville State, and as you mentioned, that school was on spring break. Those students happened to not even be in the house when all of this was moving through. But like so many others, when Ford came out to begin the cleanup process, she was joined by a small army of friends and family who had come from all over just to help any way that they could.
Yes, the friends, neighbors, good people. This restores your faith.
Did you ever have any, did you expect all these people to show up?
No, but they did. We're grateful. God bless us.
And while the community is helping to rebuild homes, they're also pointing to this. West Point Baptist Church, as we mentioned a moment ago, had been here for more than 100 years in this community. We are being told from the pastor that they are going to be working to help organize some services. They've had a lot of input from the community, Pam, and you're going to hear from that pastor in his own words coming up at 5 o'clock about how they're going to move on despite what had happened here, something they are resolute that is going to happen. I can tell you that much already.
Stephen Quinn reporting this afternoon from the communities, one of the communities very hard hit here in Jacksonville. We'll be checking back with you as well. And of course, our chief meteorologist, James Spann, will be joining us in just a moment. I want to put it back in the studio right now, though, with Chris. And Chris, you know, this is the first day of spring. We just came through a pretty strong rain shower here with the wind, which is continuing to pick up about 48 degrees right now. And it's going to get colder tonight. Chief Meteorologist James Spann, of course, will join us again in just a few moments with much more on that. Back to you in the studio.
So many stories to share, so many images to look at. Pam Huff leading our coverage there. Pam, thank you for that. We will be checking in with Pam and the rest of our team in just a few more minutes, including Chief Meteorologist James Spann, as she noted. And, you know, dozens of homes damaged or destroyed in Etowah County. ABC 3340's Cynthia Gould takes us inside the hard-hit areas. That's next and much more. A big cleanup ahead for storm victims in the Tennessee Valley. I want you to look at the funnel cloud right here that hit the Falkville area. This is in Morgan County. The same storm dropped hail on Muscle Shoals and moved into Limestone County, causing extensive structural damage in the Ardmore and Elmont areas. It's so bad that the Limestone County government officials there are requesting donations of tarps to help people who suffered roof damage. And the storms covered a wide range of northern Alabama, and it has certainly left its mark on the eastern portion of the state. And right now in Etowah County, the damage is heavy. That's where we find ABC 3340's Cynthia Goulden. Cynthia, you've been surveying the damage there all day. What's the situation?
Well, Chris, it is very bad here tonight. We're in the south side area at the command center. It's set up here at a local church. We have a large contingency of rescue crews, even the mounted patrol that was out early this morning checking for any injured folks, sweeping through this area a second time. Fortunately, no serious injuries in the area. The count we just got on the damaged homes, 86. Again, though, no serious injuries. That is the good news. And they are telling us at this point the power will hopefully be back on for most everyone in the Etowah County area by later tonight. Now, earlier today, we were over in the Riddles Bend area. We were told 51 homes damaged, 5 of those destroyed, hundreds of trees down in the area. We talked with one neighbor who says there were no sirens, just a blip on the radar, then they ran for cover.
I was on the back deck. I saw the wind blowing the furniture on the back deck and heard the roar. Immediately got in the basement with my dog and it hit and all I heard was popping. It only lasted a couple of minutes.
Power crews arrived in force early this afternoon. Checkpoints, we should remind you, are set up throughout the county to keep sightseers out and also scammers. Those should be pretty much lifted a bit later this evening, but the sheriff's office saying there will be heavy patrols tonight. No looting. No one should be in this area that does not live here. Chris?
Cynthia, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you, there are many people who are asking, how can we help? What is the best way for people to help there in Etowah County?
The best way in this area is to go to the Southside Community Center tomorrow morning to sign up. They're going to issue armbands, different colors every day. You have to sign up each day. They're asking that you bring tools, but don't forget your safety equipment. And they do have the local health department on standby should someone be injured, and even to give tetanus shots. Chris?
Cynthia Gould reporting live for us. Cynthia, thank you very much for that. Speaking of helping people, so many of you have asked how you can help with the cleanup and the volunteers who are needed in the Jacksonville area. Well, here's how you can help. The Jacksonville Community Center is open right now. The address right there on your screen. Doors opened at 7 this morning and will stay open until 6:30. That's because a curfew kicks in. This is an opportunity for anyone who is willing to help. Also want to remind you right now, Alabama Power is working to get power restored to parts of East Alabama. At the last update we got, a little more than 7,000 customers are without service. 4,700 in Calhoun County, 1,200 in Claiborne County, 1,200 in Etowah County, 650 in St. Clair County. This is also just coming into the ABC 3340 newsroom right now. Calhoun County EMA reports Jacksonville Christian Academy will have a delay opening of 2 hours tomorrow. The Calhoun County schools will also have a 2-hour delay. That's just coming into the newsroom at this very moment. For some who avoided the tornadoes, Mother Nature, though, still packed a punch. The hail damage in our area is significant. Did you see some of these images here? We're going to take a closer look in just moments in a live report. And you know what? We've had a bit of a mixed bag today, really, from clouds to bits of sunshine and even some raindrops. Will the cooler temperatures stick around? Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann lets us know what to expect. We are taking another look right now over Jacksonville. Look at some of these images. That looks like a dollhouse right there. This is video from our sky view. And in Jacksonville is where we find Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann and Pam Huff, my co-anchor there. James, wanted to ask you, getting a chance to see the damage firsthand. Pam was describing it earlier. What is it like out there?
It's pretty rough, Pam. I mean, you know, we've been doing this a long time.
We've seen better and worse than this.
We have, and again, this is clearly consistent with an EF3. I want to take the second camera we have here live. We're set up at Merrill Hall. For those that don't know, Merrill Hall is on Alabama Highway 21, real close to the Houston Cole Library. And you're seeing these large chunks of the buildings that have come off. And Pam, it's going to take a long time to clean this up. I don't know when the university will reopen. I don't know if we know that, or if the decision's been made.
No, we've not been told.
And understand, with an EF3 tornado like this, you've got wind speeds between 136 and 165 miles an hour. Very few people watching this know what it's like to be in something like that. That's just absolutely brutal. But by definition on the EF scale, this is the enhanced Fujita scale, entire stories of well-constructed houses destroyed, severe damage to large buildings such as shopping malls, trains overturned, trees debarked, heavy cars lifted off the ground and thrown, and structures with weak foundations are badly damaged. Now, let's roll some of the drone video, and I think this really tells a story, Pam. Again, this technology is just marvelous. We didn't have drones years ago, and now this aids in many different ways, but it certainly aids in storms damage assessment from a scientific standpoint. But again, this is coming from Skyview earlier today. And I want to mention, Pam, I want to make this perfectly clear. We fully understand this is not the only tornado in the state. We've had severe damage in Etowah County and St. Clair County. And we have reporters in both of those counties. We want you to know you're not being ignored, because we're going to cover all of these stories. But the one thing I want to stress here, Pam, and the one thing that is very important, is the fact that nobody died.
They listened. They understood.
What happened 7 years ago, we learned April 27, 2011, physical science is not enough. We are physical science people. We don't understand social science, human behavior. So if you know about the tornado and if a warning is issued, but if people don't react and don't respond, then it doesn't work. No. So we've been working very carefully with social scientists in terms of how to reach people, how to get them to act when there's a warning. And I think we've made so many improvements, it really showed up. Because let me tell you something, a lot of people could have lost their life out here.
Easily.
This is serious business. And also in St. Clair County and in Etowah County, and up in the Tennessee Valley where we had more tornadoes yesterday. So that is a testimony that the warning system is really starting to perform very well. So the Weather Service had a warning out for this about 20 minutes in advance. We've had injuries. I know at least one serious injury, but no loss of life, and that's the big deal.
That's the big deal.
So let's look at our 7-day, Pam. It's cold out here.
The first day of spring, really?
Yeah, welcome to spring. It's windy and cold, but tomorrow will be a brighter day. Should be sunny with a high in the 50s. Thursday morning, a good chance of a light freeze.
Well, why not?
And frost on the ground. But after that, we warm up. We'll expect 70s by the time the weekend gets here, Pam. There could be a few scattered showers, I think mainly Saturday night and Sunday. The better chance will likely be north of here. The good news, no chance of severe weather for the next 7 days.
All right, we're going to go back to the studio with Christopher Sign right now. Chris, we'll be talking with you a little later this hour on Focus at 4.
Absolutely. And Pam, you and James both touched on it. There were other areas hit as well. Some storm victims see their retirement dreams blown away. Still ahead, the damage in St. Clair County, where victims say they survived a close call with powerful, pulverizing winds. At first light, we got a much better idea of how much damage was caused by the storms that ripped right through the area, including the tornado that touched down in Jacksonville. At this point, it appears Jacksonville really took the brunt of the storm. My colleague, Pam Huff, is anchoring our coverage from that area with Chief Meteorologist James Spann. And Pam, you have covered many of these over the years. And certainly, I have to imagine it's amazing and you're pleasantly surprised looking at the damage here that nobody was killed.
It is truly amazing. I'm here with James Spann, of course, and James and I through the years have covered everything from an EF0 to an EF5. And I know I've been in Alabama a long time when I looked at the drone footage this morning and said, that's an EF3.
Right, and again, you confirm it with looking at the damage on the ground, touching it, feeling it, seeing it. And again, that upgrade happened right before we came on the air at 4 o'clock. And I know that we've talked about this, but it is a God thing that these students are on spring break.
They're on spring break. There would have been loss of life.
Yeah, we just don't know, but you have to think this would have been a really bad situation. It's bad enough as it is right now. But again, this thing kept on going, Pam. You know, it wound up in Cleburne County and then wound up in Georgia.
You were talking these were going to be long path
Right.
tornadoes.
And going into this, we had fear that there might be 1 or 2 long track tornadoes. This is a long track tornado. We don't know where it started yet. We don't know where it ended yet. It's going to take a long time, and the Birmingham Weather Service has to coordinate with the Atlanta Weather Service because that's their market
Part
over
of their
there.
market.
To see how long this thing was, but I wouldn't be shocked if this was down for at least 50 miles.
Really?
Yeah, it's
How would you compare that to some of the others that have been so devastating where there has been loss of life that you and I have carried? 50 miles sounds incredible.
right. It is, and now April 27, 2011. You know, that thing is generational, and that's the one thing people always ask before an event like this. Will this be like April 27th? In my opinion, that's a bad question because all it takes is one. And this is a classic example. For Jacksonville, their April 27th is March 19th. 2018. And so in terms of, you know, outbreaks, this is not an outbreak. We're probably going to wind up with about 8 tornadoes in the state, Pam.
Okay.
Half in the Tennessee Valley, half on the eastern side of the state. But again, with this longer track tornado, I think it's going to be fairly comparable with some of the more significant ones. And really, often these long track tornadoes are 4s and 5s. This one is a 3. But the other thing we have to consider, Pam, if the Weather Service in Atlanta finds EF4 damage across the state line, this becomes an EF4. All it takes is one spot of EF4 damage, and the whole tornado is categorized as a 4.
Differently.
Right.
Okay. Well, you know, one of the things that we noticed driving in today is that they had crews fanning out all day checking buildings, and they kept hoping and praying that this was still going to be a rescue mission and not a recovery mission. And to this point, we can say that is indeed the blessing. We saw the X's on buildings where they have cleared it, and there were no bodies inside.
Right, and there's been some really nice success stories. There was a student that was, I want to say, out of the country, worried about her cat. And
yes,
up on the 3rd level of one of these
the
apartment buildings.
Yes,
and for about 12 hours she didn't know, but they found that cat.
They found the cat.
So you know the stories have all been good on the humanitarian side, which is a good thing.
Which brings us right now to, let's go to our colleague Lauren Walsh, who is on the JSU campus right now. And Lauren, you have been talking with the students who are still here and who did survive this and who are obviously stunned and amazed and shocked at what has happened to their school. But they're going to build back. They're going to come back. And that is the reaction, I believe, that you tell me you got from everyone today.
It is, Pam, and in fact the EMA here told me it had so many volunteers today that they had to stop accepting volunteers until later in the week. So that shows you just how much the students and the community are trying to help with the rebuilding efforts already. But let me show you some more around where I am right now. Now this is Patterson Hall, which we showed you in the last half hour, which is one of the freshman men's dorms here on campus. But take a look over here, because I was talking to a lot of students who had cars damaged in a storm, and this is an example of one of the cars that was damaged, not only homes but vehicles. And walk over here, because you see trees are a major issue in Jacksonville right now, not only structural damage on buildings but a lot of trees down, and you can see this tree behind me totally uprooted. So that is an example of some of the damage we're seeing. And if you look over here, some of these apartments in the background are some of those off-campus student apartments we've been talking about, and a lot of the roofs on those have been blown off, and a lot of the students still expressing to me they're not sure exactly where they're going to live when classes return. But that community effort, that rebuilding effort, many students opening their homes to their classmates to have a place to stay during this difficult time. So it's definitely a time like this, during difficult times, that we see a lot of people come together and reach out that helping hand. Pam?
All right, Lauren, and of course we are still searching for answers, waiting for answers as this campus is being assessed, as those in charge are determining when everybody can come back, when the campus can reopen, where young people are going to live when they come back off of spring break, and how much longer their education will be delayed because of what has happened here. But it is that community spirit that not only is here on the campus of JSU, but also in the community of Jacksonville. I want to go back, if I can, to my colleague Stephen Quinn, who has found that everywhere he has gone today. And Stephen, what else have you learned this afternoon?
Well, I can tell you, Pam, you had spoken about the damage here. When we were over here at the West Point Baptist Church, which is where we are now, just west of downtown Jacksonville where you are, we were here as the National Weather Service, as well as some engineers from Auburn University were here on the campus, or rather on this facility here around the church, and looking at some of the damage. And I want to show you what they've been looking at. This is a metal warehouse that was just next to the campus. You see this? This is steel that was blown over, not just blown over, but bent. Look at a tool chest over here. This thing is incredibly heavy, blown over. This is the kind of damage that comes with a tornado. At the time, they thought it was an EF2, which is what they told us, and as I've been listening to you guys, upgraded now to an EF3. But you can imagine having 135-mile-an-hour winds and being somewhere like this. And I got to say, the one thing that has stuck out when talking to people out here is I kept asking people that we interviewed, did you know about this storm? And I was impressed by the amount of knowledge that they had, not just yesterday, but in the days leading up to this, that they knew that a storm like this was possible. Overwhelming majority of the people that we spoke to were not only aware, but prepared for a storm to come this way. And that may have well been the difference, talking to the National Weather Service, saying that they were as surprised as you all were, seeing this kind of damage and realizing that as of right now, no reports of loss of life. There is certainly a happiness about that, which helps the resolution that they're going to rebuild here in this part of Jacksonville. Pam?
All right, we appreciate that update also from Stephen Quinn, and of course we will be checking back with all of our reporters and more as our news continues at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and then again at 6. There are so many stories, Chris, as you might imagine, as I'm sure you know, having been in these yourself, to cover. But the one point that I want to make in all of this is that perhaps, just perhaps, the people of Alabama have it through their minds, have it in their heads right now, that they can save their own lives if indeed they follow what is happening. And we have seen that happen here this time. We have heard people who have said, I heeded the warning and I'm alive today because of it. Chris?
People taking action. Pam, you are exactly right, my friend. We'll be checking in with my colleague Pam Huff throughout the afternoon. And I know that Pam had seen some of these images. I wanted to share them with you because I want to take you to Coleman County. Did you see this? Car dealerships are doing what they can to save the inventory. Look at that right there. These cars getting peppered by hail right there. Some of them are a total loss. And ABC 3340's Elizabeth Lane joins us live from Coleman. Elizabeth, what are the car dealers telling you?
Chris, the general manager at Mitch Smith Chevrolet here in Coleman, that's Paul Schaefer, tells me he expects to have to completely scrap at least 50% of those damaged cars on the lot. So right now he's telling me it's a waiting game. The insurance companies will come in, they will evaluate the cars, and that's not even counting the damage that was done to the building itself. They didn't notice until this morning. Schaefer says he had roughly $14 million of inventory out on that lot when the storm came through, and he thinks about 80% of that is heavily damaged. He says he doesn't have a car on the lot that came out untouched after last night, and this is the first time he's seen something quite like this.
I've never had this severe of a hailstorm. I've never had it where it's knocked out windows. I've always had it where it's been like ping pong balls or golf balls, but nothing where it's been like softball size hail.
I'm told the insurance companies will come in early tomorrow morning, start working, and that's when everyone will start to get a better idea of exactly what's salvageable. Chris?
Elizabeth, I wanted to ask you, this is really just the beginning of severe weather season. Is there anything at all these car dealerships can do to protect the cars on the lot?
Chris, that's something I asked the manager about. He told me they did move all of their customers' cars inside in addition to everything else that they could possibly fit as far as their inventory goes. But he says there's virtually nothing dealerships can do to try and save an entire lot. Chris?
Elizabeth Lane reporting live from Coleman, continuing our live team coverage. Elizabeth, thank you. You're watching ABC 3340 News at 4. We'll be right back. We are continuing our team coverage for you. Now we head to St. Clair County. People along Greensport Road near Asheville were hit hard in yesterday's storm. ABC 3340's Amber Grigley spent the entire day with people who unfortunately lost everything.
Chris, for many residents living here, this was their retirement destination. Now this place is unrecognizable. People tell me Monday's tornado was the scariest thing they have ever lived through. They say it's shocking how a storm that lasted only a few seconds destroyed everything.
Open the door. Pull the door out of my hand. I run got in the closet.
Tears flowing.
I've never had this kind of loss, so I really don't know how to deal with it.
And high emotions after a tornado nearly flattened parts of St. Clair County. Donna Jemison lives near the lake with multiple pine trees surrounding her home. She says when the storm swept through, she had no time to take cover as trees tumbled on her home.
I didn't even know where to go. I was running around in the house like, well, where do I go? Because anywhere in the house I went, I could see, through the ceilings.
Just down the street from Jemison, William McAlpine says he made it to his closet just in time.
10 seconds after I shut the closet door, I heard glass popping and metal hitting. The whole house is shaking and vibrating.
Both McAlpine and Jemison tell me they may have lost everything, but they are lucky to still be alive. In St. Clair County, Amber Grigley, ABC 3340 News.
Amber, thank you. And the American Red Cross and other local volunteers, we want to let you know, have stepped in and are assisting. From clouds to sun to rain, boy, we've seen it all today. And Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann breaks down your forecast next. All right, depending where you are, you've seen a bit of the sun, you've seen clouds most certainly, and some of you are getting a bit of rain. We have certainly seen it all today. And Alabama's chief meteorologist James Spann is spending the day out in it. He's joined with my colleague Pam Huff as well. Pam, James?
I tell you, you're going to hear some noise behind us right now, Chris. I think you can see it in just a moment. Alabama power crews are using the area where we are here at Merrill Hall as sort of a staging area. They are taking these utility poles, 300 of which have to be replaced, and they are moving them out from this area. So that's what you're hearing right now.
And let's give an attaboy to all these people that are working here.
Absolutely.
Understand this is not easy. And Pam, typically after a big tornado day in Alabama, it is cold and windy like it is today.
Really? You mean it's like this right now? Yeah.
And these guys are working in these conditions, and they are really working hard. And they are out here doing just yeoman's effort to get the power back on.
Well, and so much power has been put back on. I mean, at one point it was like, I believe, 22,000, and now it's down to about 7,500. So they are working with that. I got to ask you about these golf ball I've seen, but last night I'm seeing softball, tomato size
we had
hail.
4-inch diameter hail last night.
That's incredible.
We had injuries, We
Yes.
had one lady in Coleman had a concussion
down her head.
type injury trying to get to a tornado shelter.
Right.
That kind of stuff can seriously injure people. It looks like a war zone in Coleman, and not just in Coleman. Many other places had hail like that across the northern part of the state. So, and I don't know what the dollar amount's going to be with
Vehicles
these damages.
didn't stand a chance.
No, the damage amount will be in the millions. It's just going to be brutal. But again, we're thankful that we didn't have anybody that died last night. That's the main thing. I want to show the 7-day one more time. Tomorrow will be a sunny day, a cool day, a windy day. The high will be in the 50s. A freeze and frost is likely Thursday morning. Growers beware. Then we warm up. By the time the weekend gets here, we should be in the 70s, maybe a few scattered showers, especially north of here. But again, no chance of any severe weather problems for the next 7 days. But again, Pam, the season is young. The spring tornado season carries on through April and May. We've got a way to go.
Be aware.
Yep.
All right, Chris, we'll be back in a moment.
Pam and James, thank you. We have some important information to pass along to you right now regarding The Good Doctor and you fans out there. The season finale will air tonight or Wednesday morning, really, depending on how you look at it. I like to say tonight, but I wanted to make sure you're aware of this. You can watch it just after midnight at 12:05 a.m. right here on ABC 3340. We want to remind you we have live team coverage for you covering this weather situation from Coleman to St. Clair County to Jacksonville, where that tornado has now been rated as an EF3. Our live coverage continues here right now. And as you watch this, I want to thank you for joining ABC 3340 News at 4 o'clock. I'm Christopher Sine. Now it's Pam, James, and Brenda.
Now, ABC 3340 News at 6.
right now at 6.
Just thought I was gonna die.
Tornado terror.
I called my mom, I called my dad and my sister.
Shattered glass, large hail causing extensive damage.
I'm just blessed, though. I mean, material things can be replaced, but our lives can't.
Plus, the emotional reaction from Monday's tornado still being felt.
I opened the door. Pulled the door out of my hand. I run got in the closet. About a minute and it was over with.
Hearts and prayers go out to all affected. Skyview 3340 flying over the campus of Jacksonville State University. In 1 hour, a curfew will be in effect in Jacksonville, north of Mountain Street, in an effort to prevent looting in the community. And right now, the Weather Authority has crews all across parts of Alabama getting a first look at the damage. Thanks for choosing ABC 3340. I'm Brenda Ledun.
And I'm Christopher Sine. And happening right now, the campus of Jacksonville State University is in emergency mode. ABC 3340 has live team coverage for you. You see everybody right here. We're live in Calhoun and Etowah counties. And we begin with ABC 3340's Pam Huff leading our coverage for us. And Pam takes you to one of the hardest hit areas, that's in Jacksonville. Pam, good evening.
Good evening to you, Chris and Brenda. And we have a nice shower here again on this first day of spring, but we're going to smile through this because we want to tell you that the beauty of what has happened is that no one died in this storm. We also are very happy that there have been so many volunteers who want to help in this, but for right now, Aaliyah and the Calhoun County Commission have decided no volunteers are needed until Friday morning. We want to tell you that if you have some time, you want to help this weekend, they need you. Go to the Calhoun County EMA website. You can sign up there for this weekend. But there's a lot to be done here, a lot of work, and I'm joined right now by our Alabama Chief Meteorologist, James Spann. James, as bad as it looks here on the campus at JSU, this isn't the extent of what happened last night.
Right. I get the idea, Pam. This might be a 50-mile long track. This is a long track tornado. It has origins to the west of here, and this crossed through Cleveland County, moved into Georgia. And the Weather Service in Atlanta is doing their job over there. But the bottom line is this is a long track EF3 tornado. And again, the Weather Service in Atlanta will be reviewing the data over there. If by chance they find any EF4 damage, it might be an EF4 tornado. But again, for the Alabama segment for now, it is an EF3. And obviously, it's not exactly a beautiful day out here. This is the backside of this big storm. We have the north winds, the cold air, some lingering rain showers, but no severe weather problems anytime soon for us.
And that's good news.
Yeah.
And James, I know you'll have a lot more in just a few moments. We want to go now, though, to Lauren Walsh, who has been on the campus all day here at JSU, finding students, finding faculty members, finding people who were not out of town for spring break. Lauren, their stories are something to behold.
It is, Pam, and this campus is already beginning to be cleaned up. There are crews, Alabama Power crews, working to bring back power to the campus. But one major thing as I'm talking to students is many are wondering where they're going to live, what car they're going to drive, as their homes and cars were destroyed in this storm. 2 of the freshman dorms, the roofs were blown off. The one right behind me right here is Patterson. This is the freshman boys dorm. And then if you look over here, that's Logan Hall, and that's where the freshman women lived, and you can see the roof on that hall also destroyed. But we have video from ABC 3340 Skyview that captured images across the JSU campus today, and as I mentioned, many students are wondering where they're going to go live, because it wasn't just these dorms that were destroyed, but off-campus student apartments also severely damaged in this storm. We were talking today with Bryant Moore, who you met in our earlier shows, and his friend Luke Wood and they were at the apartment together at one of these off-campus student apartments. They were cooking a pizza. They heard the tornado sirens. They went and hid in the closet, and listened to how Wood described this whole experience to me.
Whatever people tell you, like it sounded like a freight train. There was so like weird pressure in the room. Then we got the door closed and we just sat down. The building was shaking, like you could feel it shake and like sway in the wind. I called my mom, I called my dad and my sister, and I just, you never know what's going to happen. I just told them I love them, and I thought it was going to be okay, but you just want to make sure.
And there's a lot of people that want to help. You mentioned the volunteers, Pam, but the Salvation Army has also been out here. They have 3 trucks that we've seen, one that was right here by the dorms, helping anyone who needs a meal. They've been giving out hot meals, whether it be a student or someone working with the Alabama Power crew to help restore power. So a lot of good hearts right now here in Jacksonville during this difficult time. Back to you, Pam.
All right, Lauren Walsh reporting. And Stephen Quinn also joins us from one of those apartments that Lauren was talking about, an apartment complex called The Reserve here in Jacksonville. Stephen, you found a young woman who was in one of those apartments and who made it through, thankfully.
And certainly thankful was the word that she described, the sentiment she described to us about surviving that tornado, and her and the others who live in this apartment complex now more than a day later still unable to get their things. And the reason why is the tornado did so much damage that these buildings right here, the officials that we talked to, they're not sure that they're structurally sound, and for that reason they don't want anyone going in there except for power crews working to restore the power here in this area. And that EF3 tornado, which came through Jacksonville, brought with it winds of 135 miles an hour, and there were people in these apartments as that came through. It brought down trees, power poles, even brick walls in the church that we showed you in our last hour. And Maddie Freeland was the girl that we spoke to. She said she heard the sirens first, then she saw flashing lights, but what really caused her to actually run inside of her bathtub and seek cover is when the whole building started to shake. This is what she described about that sentiment, about having been surviving that ordeal.
I just thought I was gonna die. I really did. Thank God that I didn't. I'm glad that I'm here and that everybody's safe and that there's nothing like that happened.
Freeland, like so many, upset when realizing what could have happened here on Monday night when that storm rolled through. As I mentioned, unsure right now about the issue of whether or not these are structurally sound, but there's another concern, Pam, and that has to do, unfortunately, with looting. There was a concern that happened yesterday, and for that reason, in these areas north of Jacksonville, north of downtown, which includes the campus of Jacksonville State, there is a curfew which will be in effect beginning at 7 p.m. this evening. Pam?
And yes, Stephen, we have also been told by law enforcement that curfew will remain in effect until, in their words, it is no longer needed. So, they're going to do everything that they can to protect what is left here in this community. James Spann mentioned a moment ago that this was a long track tornado, and what happened here in Jacksonville was not the end of it. It went on into Etowah County, and that's where we find Cynthia Gould this evening. Cynthia?
Pam, we are here tonight at the Brannon Springs Church, built back in 1911. Certainly a lot of history in this area. I want to show you the power of this storm that came through here last night. Check out this tree toppled over, and more trees toppled over on the other side, severely damaging this church. 80-plus homes in the area also damaged, some of them a total loss. 1,300 were told with no power, according to the mayor, as of this morning. And a sweep of the area last night and at daybreak found no major injuries, thankfully. Everyone praising the huge response. Friends, family, all pitching in to help throughout the day.
Would have come up before they started the work. All the trees didn't just fall one way, they fell separate directions. I mean, just away from the house in every direction. We just kept saying this morning what a miracle it is. I mean, the Lord was so faithful.
And the work continues here throughout the evening. If you would like to volunteer to help, go to the Southside Community Center tomorrow morning. Bring tools and safety equipment. They will put you to work. Reporting live, Cynthia Gould, ABC 3340 News.
Cynthia Gould reporting. We are in what I would term a staging area here behind Merrill Hall, which was the Commerce and Business School here on the JSU campus. And they're using the parking lot here right now as sort of a staging area for Alabama Power. I mentioned at the very beginning here that they are not needing volunteers until Friday. And that is because Aaliyah and the Calhoun EMA decided, let's let Alabama Power and all of its crews and all of the people who have come here to help get in and restore power. And that is exactly what they are trying to do right now. Let's go back to the studio.
Pam Huff leading our coverage there from Jacksonville. Pam, will be checking in again. Thank you very much for that look. It's amazing that nobody was killed. You know, other areas were hit as well from Monday's storm.
And some storm victims saw their retirement dreams blown away. The damage in St. Clair County, where victims say they survived a close call with powerful pulverizing winds. Severe storms moved through Limestone County. Today, the National Weather Service confirmed a tornado hit parts of the Elkmont community. That's not far from the Ardmore area, and you can see that the strong winds from last night's storm ripped apart houses there, and right now tarps are being collected to cover damaged homes. Donations are being collected at the Oak Grove Volunteer Fire Department.
And the first tornadic storm of the day caused major damage in Russellville. This is in Franklin County. The National Weather Service in Huntsville confirms an EF1 tornado caused this damage on Highway 43. There was roof and sign damage to several restaurants there as well. A total of 10 businesses reported heavy damage.
Our crews continue to gather more information and more survival stories from Jacksonville. We will be checking back in with them.
And huge hailstones leaving a swath of damage across Coleman County. Did you see some of these images here? Look at this. We're taking a closer look at the damage in a live report. We've talked about so many portions of our viewing area that suffered some tornado damage or storm damage. And, you know, yesterday's tornado swept through parts of St. Clair County as well.
And people along Greensport Road near Asheville, they were hit very, very hard. For many, this area was considered a retirement destination, but they have now lost everything. Downed power lines, trees crushing homes and vehicles, and strong winds nearly ripping the area apart.
Less than a minute, the whole thing was over with. And I came outside and heard the neighbors and went over and checked on them, and the whole top's gone off their house, but they were okay. Nobody was hurt over there. You know, as far as I know, nobody right here in these houses physically hurt, just a lot of damage.
Mr. McAlpine says that he made it to his closet just in time. 10 seconds after he closed his door, the storm hit. He says he may have lost a lot, but he's happy to be alive.
As we continue our live team coverage happening right now, we take you now to Coleman County, where at this moment people are trying to salvage what they can after their homes and cars were damaged by hail.
ABC 3340's Elizabeth Lane joins us live from Coleman right now. Elizabeth, what can you tell us?
Brenda, Chris, most of the people I've spoken to are just thankful that no one was injured or worse in all of this, but that doesn't change the fact that they're now having to deal with major damage left over from last night's storm. Now, I did speak with the people over at Burgess Auto Body here in Coleman. They told me they've been busy since 8 this morning trying to get a very large number of cars fixed up. And they say a lot of times when this happens, they'll be declared a total loss and people will just buy new ones. But we've showed you some of the damage the dealership have been hit with as well. Now they told me they're averaging a cost of $8,000 to $13,000 per car just to fix it up.
It's just getting everybody happy, getting them fixed up, and a lot of cars totaled. You know, of course. Hopefully we can save some of them.
Because this is just the beginning of severe weather season, these mechanics told me they expect to be very busy for the next few months. In fact, they say they plan for this every single year. For now, reporting live in Coleman County, I'm Elizabeth Lane, ABC 3340 News.
Elizabeth, thank you for that. Pam Huff is anchoring our coverage, leading our team coverage there from Jacksonville. Let's return now to Pam and James. Pam?
We were just hearing Elizabeth talk there about this is just the beginning. Of course, James, we are in the spring tornado season.
Right. March, April, May. It's not odd to have these type of events here, but it never makes it any easier. I would imagine, Pam, once all the surveys are back, we're going to have about 10 tornadoes in the state. The Weather Service in Huntsville has identified 6 of them. We know, obviously, of this one, and there are others. And it's going to take a few days for these to come in, but it's been a very rough ride. But the good news It's cold and it's stable. Therefore, we have no more additional severe weather for a while. Let's go right to our weather graphic system and take a look at the numbers across the state. A different kind of day today. You know, yesterday we had some spots hitting 80. Today we have locations in North Alabama only in the 40s. You factor in a cold north wind that makes it feel colder than that. Low 50s down to the south of Birmingham. And by Thursday morning, many of you will likely see a light freeze and a good chance of frost on the ground. We'll check the radar, and needless to say, we've had some passing rain showers here in Jacksonville today. Not exactly what the cleanup crews would like to see, but at least we have no thunder and no lightning. Some of the showers are briefly heavy. They're wrapping around the backside of this big storm system that's off to the east, but the showers will be ending later this evening. We'll expand the radar across the southeastern states. The issues we had yesterday, they're having today on the South Atlantic coast down into parts of central Florida. Strong to severe storms, those gradually move offshore, and up to the northeast, they're going to see more snow in places like Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, ultimately New York City and Boston. Not as big, though, as the last several nor'easters they've had. So what's going to happen here in terms of rain over the course of the next 5 days? Probably not that much. We might see a few showers over the weekend. The better chance probably near the Tennessee border. Down to the south, rain will be very spotty for the southern part of the state. And again, the good news, we don't expect any severe weather problems over the course of the next 7 days. Our forecast for tonight, the showers we have this evening will be ending. The sky clearing late tonight. The low should be in the middle 30s. Tomorrow will be a different kind of day because the sun should be out in full force. Windy at times, pretty strong northwest wind. The high will likely be in the 50s. That's about 10 degrees below average for this time of the year. Up on the 7-day, again, Thursday morning. I got 32 on that 7-day forecast. Some of the colder pockets could see upper 20s. The wind should be calm. That means a good chance of a light frost. Then during the day, we rise up in the low 60s. Friday highs well up in the 60s, then 70s likely for the weekend. And again, you see those chance of showers, probably the better chance late Saturday night or Sunday, mainly north of here. And again, next week, a risk of showers, but no chance of any severe weather coming up anytime soon. That's a good thing. Catch my forecast every day on great radio stations around the state, including at Birmingham, 98.7 Today's Kiss. But the important thing, the warning process worked well last night. Despite this EF3 damage, we've had no fatalities in the state. There have been some injuries, but they apparently will be okay. So that's all that matters. We'll be back in the studio late tonight at 10 o'clock. Chris and Brenda with a more updated forecast for you at that point.
All right. Thank you, James, for all that information. And ABC 3340 is always working for you. Whenever severe weather hits, we want to, as we show you more images of the damage, remind you that you can download the free ABC 3340 app to have the Weather Authority's entire forecast with you whenever and wherever you go.